Well, I need to welcome you back, and it's still the big story for today. And we're looking at the high point of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's inaugural Maiden Independence Day speech. All of that is taking center stage on the big story for today. And many would rather applaud some of the remarks he made on that very speech, while others would definitely want to criticize them. But irrespective of which side of the divide you seem to be, we're critically looking at the high point of our speech. And in case you're just joining us, well, like we said, we still have our guest right here, and he's no other person but Mr. Tinubu'S. And before we went on the break, we looked extensively at the talk about unity, and not just unity, but also the look at security that seems to also not be in the best of light, especially in his first 140 days in office. Well, many would say he needs to do more. But anyway, what we need to do now is go get a message from our sponsors, and that's Benita Gas, located right here in Ughelli, Okokoko, and Warrior Environs. And when we come back, well, more discussion centered on the big story for today.
Hey, Willikity, how person want to talk about gas matter? Make Beneta gas plant no sit down for im matter. Gas when we say it dey light and last well. Na Beneta gas plant na fill am o. Gas when dey full reach mark pekpekpe. Na Beneta gas plant na fill am, and for any type and size of gas cylinder plus all accessories, na Beneta gas plant na dey touch light am. Na every day na Beneta gas plant dey open o from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. On top refill matters, oh yeah, make you visit any Beneta gas plant branch. You fit enter inside of Soko off Jakpa Road, opposite UBA for PTI Road, Efru, Nehemiah Junction, near former Army checkpoint for Okwokoko, or 101 Ajami Moga Ekpe Road, Warri, or 145 Ughelli Patani Expressway by Aviation Junction when carry eye. They look Shikiman and NNPC roundabout for East Soko Road for Sergeant Quarters for Ughelli. For more information, make you call Beneta Gas Plant for 080-6745-7890. Beneta Gas Plant. Na God, they our back.
Well, you do know you can also be a part of it. All you need to do, come over and let's see how I can bring you on board on the big story, knowing it's big enough to accommodate all your businesses. But anyway, we're still talking about the business of the day, and we're looking at the high point of our President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's Maiden Independence Day speech that he made on Sunday. But anyway, as much as we've looked at security and also the call for unity, let's quickly come back to it, Mr. Tinubu'S. And in his Sunday speech, he raised one of the issues that had stuck with him since his very first day during his inaugural speech, and that's the removal of fuel subsidy. And well, anyway, it has not been a very beautiful one as it concerns it. And I do know the administration had to take the bold step of scrapping that old decades-long subsidy. But let's listen to what he said about that, and we'll come to react to his statement as it concerns taking that bold step and what his administration will do on account of the removal of fuel subsidy. Let's go and get that.
Nigeria has proven that commitment to democracy and the rule of law remains our guiding light. At my inauguration, I made important promises about how I will govern this nation. Among those promises were pledges to reshape and modernize our economy and to secure the lives, liberty, and property of the people. I said that bold reforms were necessary to place our nation on the path of prosperity and growth. On that occasion, I announced the end of the fuel subsidy. I am attuned to the hardships that have come. I have a heart that feels and eyes that see. I wish to explain to you why we must endure this trying moment. Those who sought to perpetuate the fuel subsidy and broken foreign exchange policies are people who will build their family mansion in the middle of a swamp. I am different. I'm not a man to erect our national home on a foundation of mud. To endure, our home must be constructed on safe and pleasant ground. Reform may be painful, but it is what greatness and the future require. We now carry the cost of reaching a future Nigeria where the abundance and fruit of the nation are fairly shared among all, not hoarded by a select and greedy few.
Well, just like he said, it was a bold reform that was necessary to place the nation on the path of prosperity and growth. And like he said in his Sunday speech, something he needed to do. Well, anyway, there's no need me asking you if the subsidy really needed to go. It's just like we playing a broken record.
It should go.
It should go. We do know. Even Peter Obi said last week that subsidy was a scam. But this is where my question now lies. Now, Nigeria felt that in that his speech, he would have acknowledged that maybe taking that decision was a mistake. That's where it stands. Many Nigerians felt that's what they needed to hear from him as it concerns the subsidy remover. They felt he had come, apologized for making it too hasty. It was too hasty in his plan, and they felt he would have acknowledged that during his Independence Day speech. And not only acknowledging that, but like he said he knows the pain about the removal of the subsidy, and they felt that he would have told them of future plans he has in mind in reducing the cost of petroleum products. But all of that, he never made mention during his speech. I want you to react to that.
If I didn't know you, I would have said you were the PDP spokesman.
Come on, that would be not fair to me. But I need to ask this question.
Be straight and square.
Yes.
You know the suffering. Your pronouncement have
brought about the suffering.
So what should an ideal person causing another human pain do? I think that's what you are trying to do.
But Nigerians even wanted him to acknowledge the fact that decision was hasty. Things were not put in place before taking that decision. But he never made mention of that.
We talked so much about that I wouldn't want to repeat.
Okay, well.
But the point here is, he made a statement. The consequences of that statement are not glaring to him. Okay. Now, it is not asking for too much, knowing that what you did and what have become the aftermath is already impacting the citizenry negatively. Now, being silent by saying, I know your pain, I know the policies are bringing pain, as good as they are not sufficient. I expected him to have said, Nigerians, sorry for the pains you are going through. It would have been a better way.
Okay.
Since there is
that's what I wanted to know. Let him acknowledge it. That's what he wanted to have.
But he tried to be economical, as usual, making you believe that he's there thinking your purpose. Now, these are the areas I feel that he does not feel what Nigerians feel. If he does, at this time, I will have seen him slash his salary. I will have been happier if he said, because Nigerians are suffering too much, let's move some off the money, the less than, should I say 10, okay, let me call them 3,000. Because the money we used to pay 3,000 politicians in this country can pay over 1 million civil servants.
We'll come to the reforms. Because
so he will have been able to say, okay, let's slash that.
Yes.
Let's put in this money into some productive endeavors that can assuage, that can ameliorate the circumstances I have brought
about. Okay, now let's still remain with that and talk about palliative. I'll call for the video later because he also talked about palliative in dealing with the issue of fuel subsidy removal. And he said he's aware of the hardship citizens are facing, just like he said, and his administration is putting measures in place to indeed reduce the stress of families and households. But my question is he also not aware that the public workers or the public workforce, which he has given 35,000 naira now, that have made them shove the strike for a month, is just a tiny fraction of the Nigerian populace? And the reason I'm asking this question, is it not like holding the second wife? I'm not talking of the side chick. Holding the second wife close, but telling the first wife
to endure,
console herself.
So,
is that not what he did?
Well, it's close to that, but not exactly.
I didn't say NLC is side chick. I said second wife.
Yeah. It's close to that.
Okay.
Because Nigeria is beyond the federal civil servant.
Of course.
And if we want to be honest, how many federal civil servants do we have? If we have said all public servants,
okay,
in which case we will have taken the federal, the state, the local government at a go and make that statement, permit me to say, automatically implemented. Then we will have said, okay, you have dealt with something.
A large
but
number.
As it is, you have said those who take their money from the federal government, eliminating all the 36 states. So, in my opinion...
And those in the private sector also.
Now,
just like
coming to this private sector, you actually had a statement in that direction.
We'll look at the statement.
Which I am not yet at home with,
okay,
in terms of its ability to be implemented.
Okay.
How are you going to get those SMEs and give them the fund as what? A loan? A grant? What is the atmosphere, the economic environment in which these SMEs are currently going to use that money? What is the possibility that it will be regenerated
back?
So you discover that, like we spoke on security, the background work have not been done.
So it's more like a vogue, just
if you want to help the citizen out of this pain and hunger, the way to go is to go to production. Engage the people to go into production. If we don't produce and we fold our hands, all the monies in the world, we eat them, take them to the toilet, and that's it.
Okay, well, anyway, we'll love to get more of it, and I'll plead with you to hold on. Let's also listen to what he said he will do as it concerns our palliatives, and well, anyway, he has given the federal workers more of it at 5,000 naira as it stands.
Yes.
But anyway, before our wish, let's go and get a message from him as he talked about palliatives.
In Nigeria, where hunger, poverty, and hardship are pushed into the shadows and ever-fading past, there is no joy in seeing the people of this nation shoulder burdens that should have been shared years ago. I wish today's difficulties did not exist, but we must endure if we have to reach the good side of our future. My government is doing all that it can do to ease the load. I will now outline the path we are taking to relieve the stress on our families and households. We have embarked on a several sector reform to stabilize the economy, direct fiscal and monetary policy to fight inflation, encourage production, ensure the security of lives and property, and lend more support to the poor and the vulnerable. Based upon our talks with labor, business, and other stakeholders, we are introducing a provisional wage award increment to enhance the federal minimum wage without causing undue inflation. For the next 6 months, the average low-grade worker shall receive an additional 25,000 naira per month. To ensure better grassroots development, we set up an infrastructure support fund for states to invest in critical areas. States have already received funds to provide relief packages against the impact of rising food and other prices. Making the economy more robust by lowering transport costs shall be key. In this regard, we have opened a new chapter in public transportation through the development of cheaper, safer, compressed natural gas, CNG, buses across the nation. These buses will operate at a fraction of current fuel prices, positively affecting transport fare. The new CNG conversion kits will start coming in very soon, as all hands are on deck to fast-track the usual lengthy procurement process. We are also setting up training facilities and workshops across the nation to train and provide new opportunities for the transport operators and entrepreneurs. This is a groundbreaking moment where, as a nation, we embrace more efficient means to power our economy.
Well, anyway, he talked a lot about those reforms, and he said his administration has embarked on several public sector reform to stabilize the economy and direct fiscal and monetary policy to fight inflation. And in doing so, like he said, we all should carry the cost of reaching a future where the abundance and fruit of the nation are fairly, and I'll insist, fairly shared among all Nigerians, where hunger, poverty, and hardship are pushed into the shadows of an ever-fading past. And I have two questions concerning that very statement he made. And my first question is the cost of governance. Because he said a cost of reaching a future where the abundance and fruit of the nation are fairly shared among all and not hoarded by greedy few. But my question is also a need for the government not to cost down on the cost of governance, because he talked about all of us taking that sacrifice and making some persons not greedy. But we do know, as it stands, the salaries of elected and appointed public officers are not in direct reflection of the situation of things. So should that reform not also go to the public sector, and especially sector that concerns how government is being run, if we do really want a robust reform of the problem we have as it stands?
Mike, you and I were here when somebody sent prayer notes that became bank alerts.
Anyway, we see most churches telling you, raise your phone, bank alert.
It was a prayer note that came as a text message.
So it happened.
And there was an alert.
Yes.
You see someone who goes to work 10 days in a month, and he's being paid hardship allowance that runs into millions. And somebody sits there and tells you, I want to share the money equitably. Where is the equity?
Fairly.
Where is it? 3,000 Nigerians earning what can take care of 1 million Nigerians. Is that fairness? And so the man says, I know, I'm trying to take you to a future where this pain should be confined to the past that is past. Then why? That which belongs to him, that accrue to him, that accrue to them, is retained, if not even upped. I want to sincerely disagree that we are on a journey to somewhere. If I would define the somewhere, NYC, now our suffering continues.
Well, anyway, we'll not continue on that note. We need to go on a break now, but while we come back, we'll continue to talk about the journey of suffering. We'll continue to talk about the highlights of his Independence Day broadcast. We need to go on a break now.